We thank you, as we always do in the beginning, for bringing us together today.
They put their heart and soul into their faith.
They come here and they give of themselves to help others.
They make things tick. They make things come alive.
Anything that helps the parish, I'll be there.
We're trying to really enjoy every little moment of every little day and do something a little bit special each day.
Currents News introducing you to the people in the community and in the church.
It makes me feel good when I come down and I can do something to help out other people
who make up the pulse of the parish. Persichetti. Every parish has them, people who go above and beyond, putting their faith into action. They make up the heart of the church. They are the pulse of the parish. And tonight, we're focusing on them. We begin with Neda Martinez, a parishioner at Our Lady of Mount Carmel in Astoria, who's working hard to bring the church's rich history into the future. It is one of the most diverse parishes in the Diocese of Immigrants.
When I came here, I said, the whole world exists in my parish.
So there are masses in 5 languages every Sunday at Our Lady of Mount Carmel in Astoria: English, Spanish, Italian, Vietnamese, and Czech.
People speak all kinds of languages. People have different stories. People come with so much richness, cultural and religious and societal. And to have all of that in one single religious body, my family, my spiritual family, it's a great feeling.
Fortunately, the pastor, Monsignor Quang Pham, is multilingual. And the church has the equipment and the people to live stream each and every one of those masses.
Here are my shots.
People like Neda Martinez, who volunteers as the church's director of communications.
We're looking at the Solemnity of the Immaculate Conception Mass.
She not only live streams every mass and special event, she's in charge of the church's social media pages, a post she doesn't take lightly.
It's a way to get young people. You know, we don't bring young people in, we have no church. That's our way of evangelization. It's not just going to Mass, but going to Mass and then jumping off from that point to meeting your fellow parishioners.
Our Lady of Mount Carmel is considered the mother church of Queens County. It's been around since the 1840s.
These are all the sacramental registers we have.
So another job Neda has taken on is to digitize all of the sacramental registers.
These are the records that I'm trying to preserve.
It's a lot of work to scan and transcribe all of the data, everything handwritten.
That was a pen dipped in ink.
A project
1888, 1902.
Years in the making.
That's the history of the parish.
To preserve the past for the future.
There are some pages that have been damaged. That's why the less handling, the better. These are difficult things to figure out. It's not an easy process, and on a volunteer basis, it's even more difficult.
But taking 2 centuries worth of church history on these pages and making them accessible with just the click of a mouse has helped Neda combine her 2 passions, technology and faith.
Everything I do is for the greater good of the glory of God, of course, but for the greater good of the parish. Anything that helps the parish, I'll be there.
And now you know Neda Martinez from Our Lady of Mount Carmel and how she makes up the pulse of the parish. Aside from her Director of Communications duties, Neda is also a Eucharistic minister, lector, faith formation teacher, and she helps coordinate the annual Catholic Appeal. Oh, she also has a full-time job outside of the church. Now let's move to Brooklyn and visit one of the hottest restaurants around.
How's that for service?
Service is the key at this Bensonhurst hotspot. The wait staff is top-notch, the food 5 stars, and the outreach outstanding. Parishioners at St. Dominic's serving up a hot meal with a side of hope. There's always traffic going by St. Dominic's in Bensonhurst, and that was the case even before it became a church, according to former pastor Monsignor David Casado.
As I said, it was a bakery, and people came here to get fed. Well, people come here to get fed yet. They're fed on the Eucharist.
Built in the 1970s after an influx of Italian immigrants, St. Dominic's still meets the needs of its now largely Hispanic community and beyond. Through outreach, this bakery-turned parish is still feeding its visitors. They're mixing the mashed, braising the beef, and getting ready to break bread. They're not cutting any corners either, as this chef and his staff prepare for a pretty special dinner, where they're not only serving up a hot meal, but a helping of hope. This dining hotspot is located in the gym at St. Dominic's Church. It's called Hope's Kitchen.
We hope to bring them hope of better days ahead, hope in the realization that they're not alone, they're not forgotten, they're not outcasts, they matter.
And the homeless people who come here for dinner once a month, like Michelle Jackson, say they feel like family.
It's not like we're coming to a stranger's house. No. We're coming to a family's home for dinner.
That's thanks to the volunteers.
How's that for service?
Parishioners, who include students from Xaverian High School.
I feel God here, when we're all preparing the bread, the salad. You feel, presence of God because the joy, you just feel the joy in the air of helping these people. Because you know how much it means to them.
The students say they get as much as they give when putting their faith into action.
I need about 2 minutes.
Because they're not only dishing out food, they're lending an ear and showing respect.
It's the sense of the old world, that real interaction. You don't really see it in the street. A lot of people are afraid to come out of their shell and interact with people because they judge you by how you look or appear.
And as for the dinner this volunteer chef cooked up,
The food, 5-star rating. Make sure you get that right. I said 5-star.
Chef Michael Ayub says whether he's cooking for Xaverian students, paying customers at the restaurants he owns, or here at Hope's Kitchen, one ingredient is always the same: love.
It's comfort. It's breaking bread together. It's being, together as a community. And as fractured as some of these families are, to have this time of communally sitting down, it's really, something not only warming for the soul, but also warming for your stomach.
Mighty eternal God, we thank you for the opportunity to share a meal together.
Deacon Anthony Mamaliti calls it a labor of love.
They come here and they give of themselves to help others. And we are fulfilling Matthew's gospel. Whatsoever you do to the least of my brothers, that you do unto me.
And now you know the Hope's Kitchen volunteers from St. Dominic's and how they make up the pulse of the parish. Hope's Kitchen at St. Dominic's is open the third Wednesday of every month. Dinner is served at 6 p.m. The church is located at 2001 Bay Ridge Parkway in Brooklyn. For more information or to volunteer, just head to their website, stdomsoutreach.org. Now to a mother-daughter team in Queens who's making sure no one in their community goes hungry. Maretza Chamorro and Lillian Gualpa run the food pantry at St. Matthias in Ridgewood. The duo wanted to give back to the community because they know what it's like to be in need. Maretza lost her job during the pandemic. So now they organize this pantry where people can make an appointment so they don't have to wait in line. An act of kindness, Maretza says, is much bigger than herself.
Yo creo que lo hacemos porque
She does it because she knows the needs of the people, and God has showed us in His works, helping the ones in need really is a great expression of love. And to be able to do that really gives us a great motivation to help those people out.
St. Matthias has been helping the community for years, way before the pandemic struck. The food pantry has a working kitchen and used to serve lunch to the homeless, but COVID forced them to shut down the operation and cook up this new plan. There's always something new going on over at St. Clair's Church in Rosedale. That's because they have a thriving youth ministry. And it's all thanks to Shashara Valmy, who's made it her mission to pass the faith on to the next generation.
St. Clair's is a Roman Catholic parish with their doors open that wants to engage the wider community.
But Father Daniel Kingsley will be the first to tell you that wasn't always the case.
It's surprising that many of the parishioners would tell me that at first they were not welcomed into this church.
The Rosedale Church that stands today was opened in the 1920s. It was called the Cathedral in the Cabbage Patch because it was the stateliest structure in a farming community. Decades later, the farms became suburban streets, and in the 1970s, the mostly Italian and Irish congregation started to change. The Great Migration brought Black and Afro-Caribbeans to the neighborhood, and even though they weren't welcomed with open arms, the pastor tells us they stuck around, a characteristic of a St. Clair's parishioner then and now.
A certain stick-to-itiveness that we are here and we want to maintain what we have worked for and that what we have received.
Je vous salue Marie, pleine de grâce.
It's interesting as you hear the rosary prayed here in the morning, sometimes you hear a little bit of Latin, sometimes you hear a little bit of the Haitian Creole, the English, so it's a cacophony and symphony of languages.
One of the parishioners now lending her voice to that symphony is Sashara Valme.
My title is youth minister. What I do for the church, it's a lot, which is a good thing.
The Morning Cancer took on the role of youth minister a couple years ago. She uses her musical talents to help with the youth choir and the praise dancers. She also leads them in community service projects and different workshops.
When we're working, we always want to put away for a rainy day in case of emergency.
This one is on how money works.
A simple pay stub.
A subject this financial planner knows a lot about.
Our youth really don't have the understanding of save for tomorrow, build, invest. But, it's more so to help them have the education so that in the future, they're not struggling with the things that we find in our community.
But before feeding their minds, she feeds their bellies and their souls.
Heavenly Father, we thank you, as we always do in the beginning, for bringing us together today. I usually joke around and say when I come to church, I'm getting my refill of my wings, my armor for me to be ready to go. So when I'm here with the youth, I feel like it gives me a way to kind of bring them under my arm and help them find their way.
She's doing what all Catholics are called to do, passing the faith on to the next generation. And now you know Sashara Valme from St. Clair's and how she makes up the pulse of the parish. And Sashara is definitely doing something right. One of the teens actually said he'd rather come to church for the youth group events than stay home and play video games. There's a lot more news headed your way. No video games here either. Just squeals of delight at a day camp in Queens. Coming up later, meet the religion teacher who's providing all the fun. Plus, no shortage of fun at the feast. The parishioner behind this Brooklyn tradition who's hoping to spread the faith. And up next.
It makes me feel good when I come down and I can do something to help out other people.
The Cook with Compassion. We're taking you to Our Lady of Grace in Gravesend. Welcome back to this Currents News special featuring some of the shining stars around the Diocese of Brooklyn. A parishioner and his team at Our Lady of Grace in Gravesend have the recipe for a faith-filled mission. All it takes is a dash of faith, a pinch of compassion, and a heart full of love. The beauty of Our Lady of Grace in Gravesend is what stood out to its pastor when he was assigned here in 2021.
It reminds me of a Spanish mission church. So that impressed me right away because I always liked that architecture. And then the beauty of the church as you come in and the sanctuary, very quaint, very cozy, and people call it their home.
In fact, Father Guy Spordoni says some of the very first parishioners still call it their home, ever since they started digging the foundation in 1936.
The homeless ministry, the pastoral ministry, all are the same people who've been here for years doing it.
It's an older congregation made up of the Italians who were here from the beginning. Father Guy says while their kids have moved away, the so-called old-timers have stuck around, and they're an active bunch.
Lectors, ministers, people, you want to call them old-timers, whatever phrase gives them an identity. But no, they still have a love for their parish, which is very evident in all that they do.
Pat Fleming is one of them, and he feels right at home in the rectory's downstairs kitchen. For the past 15 years, Pat's been the cook for the Feed the Homeless ministry.
Makes me feel good when I come down and I can do something to help out other people, which is what Jesus really wants us to do. He wants us to help out other people.
The Brooklynite says he started cooking as a kid out of necessity.
When I was young, like in grammar school, if I wanted to eat breakfast, because I was up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and my mother ain't getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning to cook, I had to cook my own breakfast.
Now he does it out of love and for the camaraderie.
Me and my wife, we argue over who's going to cook. She's a good cook. I'm a better cook. Hey, don't tell her that I said that.
This ministry of friends meets every Wednesday morning. First, breaking bread together, then preparing and packing up meals for those less fortunate.
And then we got Frank's rice and beans. Every week they get a hot meal.
After a final stir, the food is dished out, packed up and placed into insulated bags and then lugged out to a waiting car. A short drive to Brighton Beach to share their food and their faith.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done.
With the homeless who are waiting for them in a parking lot.
Thank you.
And when they're all fed, the volunteers go looking for others, carrying bags of food on the boardwalk to make sure no one is hungry today.
You take the whole thing.
They're taking their time out to help other people, and that's what everybody here does. We got such a great crew here. People are always willing to do something else for somebody. That's a great thing.
And now you know Pat Fleming from Our Lady of Grace and how he makes up the pulse of the parish. The Feed the Homeless ministry was started by the late Sister Jane Talbot in 1992. Now, about a dozen volunteers join Pat every week to continue the mission. There's more Pulse of the Parish stories coming up. Faith, food, and fun at the feast. The parishioner who's making sure this celebration of Italian pride carries on. And when school's out for summer, one religion teacher is still hard at work. So who makes up the pulse of your parish? Let us know so we can feature them. Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number, 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. It is a summertime tradition in the Diocese of Brooklyn, and it's where we find our next Pulse of the Parish. The feast at Our Lady of Mount Carmel in Williamsburg has kept the parish alive. And the person behind this celebration of Italian-American culture is the general chairman and longtime parishioner, John Notaro. He says while the neighborhood has changed over the years, everyone comes back for the two-week event. And John says it's a great way to reach out to new people in the community who aren't churchgoers.
It is an incredible evangelization tool. We have the Giglio, we have the sausage and pepper stands, we have the games, we have the rides, and these are all ways to draw people in. And now they're here, and now we've got this great opportunity to show them what we do.
John tells us planning for the 2023 Our Lady of Mount Carmel feast began as soon as 2022's ended. Love that feast. Another summer staple that takes a lot of planning is the day camp at Our Lady of Fatima in Jackson Heights. It attracts families from all over Queens, and that's because of the religion teacher at the Catholic Academy who doesn't stop working when school lets out in June. She continues to put her faith into action by organizing the camp.
The focal point of any church would be the altar.
But it's the backdrop of the altar at Our Lady of Fatima that really grabs your attention. 200,000 colored tiles, along with some 18-karat gold, make up the stunning handmade mosaic of the apparition.
It is really one of the largest mosaics installed in parishes in America.
The pastor, Father Darrell DaCosta, gave us a tour of the Jackson Heights Church, from the beautiful stained glass windows that line the sides of the church to the altar decoration showing the Blessed Mother visiting the children in 1917. Fast forward more than 100 years, now the children are visiting Our Lady of Fatima for summer camp. The squeak of the playground swings and the squeal of laughter during water balloon fights, the sounds of success for camp director Elizabeth Riley.
We're trying to really enjoy every little moment of every little day and do something a little bit special each day.
On this day, the special event was a backyard barbecue. Just one of the ideas Elizabeth cooked up when she started planning the camp back in January while teaching religion at Our Lady of Fatima Catholic Academy. And even though she keeps her lesson plans in the classroom,
a lot of people do choose here because of the faith. Even non-Catholics love the idea of the faith.
Elizabeth is the one who greets the parents at drop-off, oversees the counselors, and even spends some one-on-one time with the campers, albeit with frequent interruptions.
And a lot of Yes, she does. But
most of the counselors are graduates of the school, and for many, this is their first job.
They're learning about responsibility and communication and punctuality, and I hope they're modeling those kinds of things for the kids.
The kids are picking up some valuable lessons.
We're learning to have fun in your life, and we're learning to be kind and yeah.
And those are lessons some parents drive miles for their kids to learn. 5-year-old twins Nathaniel and Camilla's mom brings them here from Queens Village every day because of the camp's reputation and because of its director.
I go on like where you feel like a vibe, and she gives me a really good vibe, and she makes me feel comfortable, and I think that's been a blessing.
There's something about being in an area that is middle-class working people. So when they're paying for something, they want a value from it. So to be able to create something where people appreciate what they're getting in return is pretty cool.
And now you know Elizabeth Riley from Our Lady of Fatima and how she makes up the pulse of the parish. Elizabeth tells us the camp attracts many children. 80% of them don't even attend Our Lady of Fatima Catholic Academy during the school year. That does it for this special edition of Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. We leave you tonight with one more special thank you to those who keep the Diocese of Brooklyn beating. And now you know Nada Martinez.
These are the records that I'm trying to preserve.
The Hope's Kitchen volunteers.
We're coming to a family's home for dinner.
Maretza Chamorro and Lillian Gualpa.
Helping the ones in need really is a great expression of love.
Sashara Valme.
We thank you, as we always do in the beginning, for bringing us together today.
Pat Fleming.
Makes me feel good when I come down and I can do something to help out other people.
John Notaro.
It is an incredible evangelization tool.
Elizabeth Riley.
We're trying to really enjoy every little moment of every little day.
And how they make up the pulse of the parish.